The dinner was supposed to be for Mom's 60th birthday. Instead, Gerald turned it into a financial planning seminar, complete with his laptop and a PowerPoint presentation titled Estate Planning for the Morrison Family. As Patricia's health declines, Gerald said, clicking through slides while Mom sat quietly beside him, her hands trembling slightly from the early-stage Parkinson's. We need to be realistic about the future. I watched my mother's face carefully. She'd been diagnosed 6 months ago, and Gerald had been increasingly vocal about getting affairs in order ever since. The house, the investment accounts, the vacation property in Tahoe, everything will naturally pass to the surviving spouse, Gerald continued, his laser pointer circling assets on the screen. That's me. Then to my children, Blake and Diane, as the legal heirs. What about Jasmine? Mom's voice was soft but clear. Gerald's jaw tightened. He'd been my stepfather for 8 years, but the way he looked at me hadn't changed since day one, like I was a temporary inconvenience he had to tolerate. Your mother's money goes to her real family, he said, not even glancing my way. Jasmine is 28, college-educated, and perfectly capable of taking care of herself. Blake and Diane are building families. They need the inheritance more. Blake, who'd been fired from 3 jobs this year. Diane, whose husband was a partner at a law firm. They needed it more than me, the public school teacher who'd moved back home to help care for Mom after her diagnosis. Besides, Gerald added with a smile that didn't reach his eyes, it's all outlined in our prenuptial agreement. Separate assets remain separate. Marital assets go to the surviving spouse. Very straightforward. Mom's pills rattled as she reached for them with shaking hands. I helped her, noticing how Gerald didn't even pause his presentation. I should go, I said, kissing Mom's cheek. Happy birthday, Mom. I love you. Stay for dessert, she whispered. Let her go, Patricia, Gerald said. We have more slides to review. I left, but I didn't go home. I sat in my car in the driveway, watching through the window as Gerald continued his presentation to his captive audience of one. Mom looked smaller than ever, diminished by both disease and her husband's casual cruelty. My phone rang at 9:47 p.m. Unknown number, local area code. Miss Jasmine Harper? Yes. My name is Harrison Blackwell from First Republic Private Wealth. I apologize for calling so late, but I have urgent information regarding your mother's account. My mother banks with Chase, I said, confused. Gerald had made sure I knew exactly where all the family money was kept. Your mother has maintained a private account with us for 20 years, Miss Harper. Given her recent diagnosis, she instructed me to contact you directly. I don't understand. Could you meet me tomorrow morning? Our private office, not the main branch. Your mother was very specific about discretion. I agreed, my mind spinning. 20 years ago, I'd been 8. That was the year Dad died. The year Mom had to sell our house, move us to a tiny apartment, and work 3 jobs to keep us afloat. What account could she have possibly opened then? The next morning, I told Mom I was taking her to physical therapy. Gerald barely looked up from his newspaper when we left. At the last minute, I turned toward downtown instead of the medical center. Where are we going? Mom asked. To see Mr. Blackwell. She smiled, the first real smile I'd seen in months. Good. It's time you knew. The private wealth office was all marble and mahogany, the kind of place where money whispered instead of talked. Harrison Blackwell was younger than I'd expected, maybe 40, with kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. Mrs. Morrison, Miss Harper, please sit. He pulled out a thick folder. Let me start by saying this is highly unusual, but given the circumstances. Just tell her, Harrison, Mom said. Tell her everything. He nodded and turned to me. 20 years ago, your mother received a settlement from your father's employer. His death was due to company negligence, faulty safety equipment they knew was defective. What? Mom, you said Dad died in a construction accident. He did, Mom said quietly. But it wasn't an accident. The company knew the scaffolding was compromised. They'd been warned repeatedly. After he died, they offered me 2 options. A lump sum of $100,000 immediately, or a structured settlement of $15,000 per month for life, invested in a private account I couldn't touch for 20 years. You took the monthly payments, I breathed. I had to. We needed money to live on. But I never touched the principal. Every month for 20 years, $15,000 went into this account. I lived on my salary, scraped by, remarried Gerald partly for financial security. But I never touched your father's money. Blackwell cleared his throat. With compound interest and our investment strategy, The account now stands at $4.2 million. The room spun slightly. $4 million. 4.2, Blackwell corrected. And you, Miss Harper, are the sole beneficiary. Your mother structured it as a trust that transfers automatically upon her death, completely separate from any marital assets. Gerald doesn't know? I asked. Mom shook her head. The payments come from a subsidiary of a subsidiary. On bank statements, it looks like a small monthly pension from your father's union. Gerald never questioned it. But the prenup? The prenuptial agreement I signed with Gerald 8 years ago protects assets acquired during marriage, Blackwell interrupted. This account predates the marriage by 12 years. It's untouchable. There's more, Mom said. Harrison, tell her about the prenup's expiration clause. Blackwell smiled. Your mother is quite the strategist. The prenuptial agreement has a 10-year sunset clause. After 10 years of marriage, it becomes void. Gerald insisted on it, Mom added. He thought he was protecting himself, making sure I couldn't just divorce him after a year and take half his assets. He never imagined I'd use it against him. When does it expire? I asked, though I was already doing the math. Tomorrow, Blackwell said. At midnight tomorrow, the prenup expires. If your mother were to file for divorce after that, she'd be entitled to half of all marital assets, including the ones Gerald brought into the marriage. I stared at my mother, this woman I thought I knew everything about. You've been planning this for 8 years? Longer, she admitted. I knew what Gerald was the moment I met him. A man who saw dollar signs instead of people. But I also knew he had excellent health insurance, and you needed braces, therapy after Dad's death, college tuition. So I made a deal with the devil. Mom, I'm not proud of it, but I'm not ashamed either. I did what I had to do to take care of you while protecting what your father left behind. But now you're sick, I said. What's the point of divorcing him now? Mom and Blackwell exchanged glances. Show her, Mom said. Blackwell pulled out another document. Your mother filed for divorce this morning. The papers will be served to Gerald tomorrow at 12:01 a.m., 1 minute after the prenup expires. But if you die before the divorce is final. I won't, Mom said firmly. My doctor gives me at least 5 years, maybe 10 with proper treatment. Plenty of time for the divorce. Gerald controls your healthcare decisions, I pointed out. Not anymore. Blackwell produced a medical power of attorney. As of this morning, you do. I was overwhelmed. Mom, but what about his kids? Blake and Diane. Mom's face hardened. Blake called me a gold digger at Thanksgiving. Diane told her friends I was spending their inheritance on my medical bills. They've never once asked how I'm feeling, never offered to help. They're just waiting for me to die. And Gerald? Gerald told me last week that it would be more economical to skip the expensive treatments. That quality of life matters more than quantity. Her voice was bitter. He meant his quality of life, not mine. My phone buzzed. Text from Gerald. Where are you? Patricia has treatment at 10. We should go, I said. One more thing, Blackwell said. He handed me a credit card. This is linked to the trust account. Your mother wanted you to have access immediately for her care and your needs. I can't. You can and you will, Mom said firmly. Starting today, we're doing things differently. We drove home in silence until Mom spoke. I need you to do something for me tonight. Anything. At 11:59 p.m., I need you to be recording. Recording? Gerald always makes his proclamations about family money after his evening scotch. 3 drinks in, he gets philosophical about bloodlines and inheritance. I want it on video. That evening, I helped Mom to bed early, claiming she was tired. Gerald seemed relieved to have the living room to himself. I sat with him, something I rarely did, and poured his drinks generously. By 11:45, he was on his 4th scotch, expansive and cruel in equal measure. You know, Jasmine, he said, checking his watch. In 15 minutes, I could divorce your mother and she couldn't touch a penny of my money. That prenup was the smartest thing I ever did. Why don't you? I asked, my phone recording from my pocket. Because she's sick. She needs me. Without my insurance, my money, she'd have nothing. You'd both have nothing. He laughed. Besides, she'll be gone soon enough. Then everything goes to my real children. Blake and Diane deserve it. And Mom's pension? From my dad. He waved dismissively. Pennies. $1,500 a month, barely worth mentioning. That dies with her. 11:58 p.m. What if Mom lives longer than expected? I asked. She won't. I'll make sure she's comfortable, But I'm not wasting money on experimental treatments just to keep her alive an extra year. It's cruel to prolong suffering. 11:59 p.m. Her suffering or yours? I asked. What's that supposed to mean? The doorbell rang at exactly 12:01 a.m. Gerald looked confused. Who the hell is visiting after midnight? I opened the door to a process server, a young woman with a bright smile. Gerald Morrison? Yes. You've been served. She handed him the envelope and took a photo of him holding it. Have a nice evening. Gerald tore open the envelope, his face cycling through confusion, shock, and rage as he read. Divorce? He looked up at me, then toward the stairs where Mom stood, fully dressed, looking stronger than she had in months. Hello, Gerald, she said calmly. Happy prenup expiration day. You can't divorce me. You're sick. You need me. I need proper medical care, which I'll be paying for myself. As for the divorce, my lawyer will be in touch about splitting assets. The prenup expired 60 seconds ago. Half of everything is mine now. This is insane. You planned this. For 8 years, Mom confirmed. Every insult, every time you reminded me I was living on your charity, every time you told Jasmine she wasn't real family, I remembered it all. Gerald turned on me. You knew about this. I knew about the $4.2 million trust fund from my father that Mom's been growing for 20 years. I said clearly, making sure he understood every word. The one you knew nothing about. The one that goes directly to me. The color drained from his face. $4 million. $0.2, Mom corrected. Plus half of your assets in the divorce. Turns out I won't be dying penniless after all. Blake and Diane arrived within an hour, summoned by their father's frantic calls. They stood in our living room, still in their pajamas, as Gerald raged about betrayal and manipulation. She's stealing our inheritance. Diane shrieked. Your inheritance? I laughed. You mean the money Mom earned by being married to your father? That's not inheritance, that's marital property. Dad, how could you let the prenup expire? Blake demanded. I didn't think she knew. Gerald said. It's tomorrow. It expires tomorrow. It expired at midnight, Mom said, showing them her phone. It's 1:17 a.m. Today is tomorrow. The next morning, Gerald moved out. He tried to claim Mom was mentally incompetent due to her Parkinson's, but the video of him discussing her death while drinking scotch didn't help his case. Neither did the recording of him saying he'd withhold medical treatment to save money. Mom's divorce lawyer, apparently an old friend of Harrison Blackwell, was magnificent. Within 6 months, the divorce was final. Mom got the house, half the investment accounts, and most importantly, the freedom to make her own medical decisions. She started an experimental treatment program at Stanford, paid for with Dad's money. The trust he'd unknowingly created by dying had given her the power to save her own life. Your father would have loved this, she told me one day, walking stronger after her new treatment. He always said the best revenge was living well. This seems like more than that, I said. You're right. This is living well while taking everything from someone who thought you were worthless. Your dad would have loved that even more. Gerald remarried within a year, to a woman Blake and Diane picked out. She was 30 years younger and actually was a gold digger. She left him 2 years later with half of what remained of his assets. Mom lived another 12 years, long enough to see me married, to hold her grandchildren, to travel to places Gerald had always said were too expensive for someone in your condition. She died peacefully in her sleep at 72, having outlived every prediction Gerald and his doctors had made. The $4.2 million trust, grown to nearly $7 million by then, passed to me as planned. At her funeral, Gerald had the audacity to show up. She was my wife once, he said. I have a right to be here. You were her husband, I corrected. But you were never her family. Family doesn't count down the days until you die. Family doesn't put a price tag on your treatments. Family doesn't tell children they're not real enough to inherit love. He left without another word. Mom's final letter to me, delivered by Blackwell after her death, contained one last revelation. My darling Jasmine, the monthly payments weren't $15,000. They were $5,000. I lied to Harrison about the amount to make the story more dramatic for Gerald. The real genius wasn't in the money. It was in keeping the secret, letting Gerald think he knew everything while knowing nothing. The extra $10,000 per month? That came from selling my jewelry, piece by piece, items Gerald never knew I owned. Your grandmother's collections, hidden away. Every insult he threw at us, I sold another piece and added it to your trust. He literally funded your inheritance with his cruelty. Your father would have laughed himself sick. All my love, Mom. She was right. Dad would have loved it. Gerald thought he'd married a weak woman who needed his money to survive. Instead, he'd married a chess player who'd sacrificed her queen to protect her king, me, and then revealed she'd had a second queen all along. The prenup had expired exactly as Gerald had written it. He just never imagined someone he considered worthless had been counting down the days even more carefully.